You want to know which Guardians prospect stock is rising or falling? You want to know what the odds are of the Guardians actually doing something to improve their lineup this offseason? We're going to tell you today because we're playing the man and we're playing the odds. It's a buy, sell, hold edition of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. Thanks for being here with us. To all of our everydayers, everybody else. It is the Locked On Guardians show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything between. Shout out to all the everydayers who make it worth talking about the Guardians 365 days a year. My name is Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts here for the last 3 years and 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system from Goodyear to Lake County to Akron, all the way up to Cleveland.
And I'm Jeff Ellis, your other co-host. I've been here since Locked On expanded to baseball. Before that, I was a national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. As well as Justin said, a big shout out to all of our everydayers joining us out there today.
Yes, thank you all for being here with us. On today's show, we got a fun one. We're going to talk about what we're selling, Guardians prospect stock, or moves they may or may not make. We'll do some hold talk as well. We're playing the whole stocks in this one, thankfully, with not real money, because we have no idea if these things are going to happen or not, but I feel good about some of them. And we'll talk about what we're buying, who we're buying on the Guardians team going into the offseason and into 2026. Today's episode of Locked On Guardians, of course, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer and you bet just $5, if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. All right, Jeff, let's hit the morning bell and let's get into it. What Guardians prospect or major leaguer or thing are you buying this offseason heading into 2026?
Well, I think you and I both approach this very differently. So I broke it down. Do you want to start with? I think we should break it down where we start with either majors or minors, because I did buy and sell in terms of and hold major league, minor league talent, hitters, and pitchers.
Wherever you want to go, wherever you want to tell the audience to invest all of their fake Guardians bucks in.
Should we start with buying at the major league level?
Go ahead.
So I guess I'll just give my two buys. First off, buying, I almost wonder if we'll have the same for pitching. I'm buying Bibee because, I mean, it fits together. You don't need to say anything more than that. The actuality is he's had 2 very good years. Things started to come together late for him. A lot of people jumped off the train. Stock is down, so it's a good time to buy. And then the other player, it's not really a stock down, but I've talked about a lot on the show, the importance of, if you are a major league hitter and you chase too much and you don't walk enough, or, if you have all sorts of things you don't do well, the big things you need to do are hit the ball hard and barrel it. And there are a lot of guys who that's the only things they do, and they're at least league average hitters. And I was looking, and the number one guy, I believe, in both hard hit percentage and in terms of barrel rate was Kyle Manzardo on the team. The funny thing is the next two guys, Gabby Arias is number 2, I believe, in both those categories. And then number 3, I'd have to look at the lineup and see. It's not who you expect. It's not Jose. Like, it's not in terms of the hard hit or the overall barrel percentage. It's it's an intro. It's Daniel Schneemann. It's Schneemann, Arias, and Manzardo. But Manzardo is kind of a little bit ahead of the other two. So I'm buying him just because, I mean, really, last year he was a up and down, got about 2 months in the big leagues. In a lot of ways, this is almost like a rookie year. I'm very curious to see how he adjusts, because we've seen a lot of guys fall flat on their face in year 2. So I'm kind of hoping he avoids that, and we see, the continue improvement and growth in what he already showed.
It was Kyle Manzardo's rookie year, so that does qualify. That just tells me, by the way, that you have to look at more than one stat for things to pan out for a player. Like, there's not just one simple stat you can look at and say, well, this guarantees success and this doesn't. because like you just said, Gabby Arias and Daniel Schneemann. Now maybe that's team specific because a lot of guys didn't do that very well.
I mean, I think again, I almost put Schneemann in my hold because he gives you great defense. He does a bit of everything, and maybe he's not a starter. He's a perfect bench guy. Gabby, it's just that darn. A show we're going to do later this season is like pick one guy and fix one trait, and it's very easily we'll both have Gabby because he's got everything else. He just has him and Noel have the worst eyes on the team.
Yeah, well, eyes or approach in general. If that's eyes or if that's just the mental part of the game. No, those are two really easy buys. I mean, that's I don't necessarily feel like their stocks dipped all that low, especially Bibee. Like, I think if you
look at the comments, and if you look at, I mean, he did come back in the last month, but before that, I mean, we were doing a "What's Wrong with Tanner" Bibee show every month, so I think the stock is took a hit there. I mean, I think across the team, across the league, that stock is down. There's no baby. It's down, dude. It's down after a year like that.
I don't think it dipped that much. It's not like it was the Millennium Force, and
if it was 100, it was down to about like a 75, 80 because it's the big extension. Fair. So and if I think you can get past 100, then it's a great buy.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I can say that the dip wasn't that big for him.
No, I'm not saying it's like an 8, like he was at a 20, but I also don't see again. It's my safety net, right? Like I like safer things. Like I don't want to buy a guy whose stock is down in the 10s. I just don't think that's a good return on investment.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. We both had a lot of stock already in Tanner Bibee for the last couple of years, obviously having him on the show in the past and pounding the table for him to get his extension. So I think you and I already had the majority shares of Tanner Bibee anyway. You're saying you're buying then the improvements he made at the end of the season will translate in 2026.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right. The Manzardo thing, I totally agree with too. I think for Kyle Manzardo, I think a full season of playing time really is going to help him this offseason. I mean, I do think he needs to go into this winter and be prepared to play more games next year. I think that's the big issue for him. Down the stretch, he really struggled. Like he was a little inconsistent times. When he was hot, he was out. You and I talked about how one of the reasons that one of the reasons they moved on from Josh Naylor was the lack of consistency, right? He was very hot and cold sometimes. And we were hoping Santana would be a little more consistent, even if the floor was, or the ceiling was a little bit lower, and that wasn't there, unfortunately. Manzardo did experience those hot and cold stretches like Naylor did. So he's got to come back ready to play a full season. And I think, he had a really hot start against lefties in 2025. I don't know if that's going to continue in 2026, but I think having a full season under his belt will help him look at the things he needs to improve on, whether that's durability, whether that's hitting lefties. The big thing for him, though, is it's hard for everybody, is how do you adjust to the league's adjustments, right? Like this is the first full year of major league data and video they have on him. So as much as we think that in the offseason, Kyle Manzardo is going to work on X, Y, and Z to improve for 2026, the league, whoever it is going to have more game plans and scouting reports for him. So he's got to be prepared to adjust back. And that's one of those unquantifiable things. So I'm not saying I don't buy it, but if you ask to rank those two investments where I'm going to put a lot heavier weight behind, it's definitely going to be Bibee over Manzardo.
Fair. And it's just one of those things that really we'll have to focus on later too, is that second year stumble. How many guys we see a lot of guys now kind of peak as rookies and then kind of settle into a tier below what they did in year one. I mean, even still, I believe Stephen Klon's best year. You go back to that class, Rushman and Julio, that was both of their career highs. Like, it's interesting to see.
It is. All right. I will tell you what and who I'm buying this offseason for the Guardians heading into 2026. We'll talk about what we're holding heading into 2026, and we'll do some stock sell-offs here on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. If you're like me and you're around my age in this job market, you might have changed jobs a few times in the last several years. And you know what that means? That means a lot of different 401k options, investment options. They could be floating around in different accounts, and you can lose track of that, meaning you're leaving important money on the table for your future. That's why I started using Monarch, because it's an all-in-one personal finance tool, and it brings your entire financial life together. So if you're on your phone, you can do that on your phone. If you want to do it on your laptop, that's there as well for you. So whatever your preferences, they make it a lot easier to manage your finances, no matter what device you're on. They have visual dashboards so you can see everything. You can link accounts with your partner. So if you're looking to make home improvements, go on that big vacation, or send your kids to college, you can have those conversations, and you can all be up to date on what all your financial situation looks like. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks for you. You can use the code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch.com to get 50% off your first year. That's Monarch.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Today's episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Every day we have to make decisions because we're adults. That's what we're forced to do. But on PrizePicks, being right actually gets you paid. How's that for a change? Don't miss the excitement of football season or basketball season that started, by the way, on PrizePicks, where it's good and it pays to be right. It's very simple. All you got to do is pick more or less on a player's stat projection. So if you like Josh Allen's passing yards more or less, you hit on that. Donovan Mitchell, I think he's going to score more points than his projections. You hit more, and guess what? You're in the game. Some of the cool things you can do on PrizePicks too is stack some of the stats. So if you want to take Donovan Mitchell's points and his assists or whatever it is, you can stack that all in the same lineup. And let's say you're a risk taker and you want to use the projection on that player who's got a bit of an injury risk and you don't want to be penalized for it. They have the injury reboot feature. So if your player leaves early, doesn't return, it will not count against you. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get $50 off your first lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Welcome back to today's Locked On Guardians. Thank you all for being here with us as usual. And if you're not an everydayer, shout out to everydayer. A special shout out to Chad K and Taylor L. I know they're everydayers out there listening in their cars or at work. If you'd like to join that group, make sure you're hitting the bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. You never miss a bonus video. You never miss when we go live. And if you auto download on all your audio platforms, you can always catch up with the show, whether you're going on your morning walk with your dog, you're working out, mowing the lawn, whatever you're doing. It's right there in the app for you, and it'll move on for you. So appreciate y'all being here for all of that. All right, Jeff, you ready for my big stock buys this offseason?
Yeah, I still got my minor league ones as well.
All right, well, we're going to do it. We got lots of time today. So my first one is, it's not a player, it's an idea. And I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, right. Nice job. Nice try. I'm buying the Guardians are actually going to do something significant. And I'm not going to define what significant is other than the fact that they're not going to sign Kyle Tucker, obviously. They're going to do something worth noting to address their outfield this offseason. I don't know if it's going to be a trade or if it's going to be a free agent signing. I'm not saying like, oh, it's just Lane Thomas. I'm not saying it's Kyle Tucker. I'm saying something maybe in between that. But I'm going to buy the idea they're going to improve the outfield and their offense somehow this offseason externally because the financials time is right for them. I think with the money on the books, the looming lockout, I don't know if it's going to work in their favor or not, but they were very intentional last offseason about we need to improve our starting pitching. We have to go do that. And they went out last year and they made a lot of moves to do that sort of thing, whether it was getting guys in the major leagues, like one of the pitchers who's suspended now, unfortunately, or will be suspended or banned, whatever it is. And they brought in John Means too. They went out and they improved their depth. They got Slade Cecconi. They brought back Bieber, all that kind of stuff. So I buy that the Guardians are going to do something like that for the outfield and their offense this offseason.
I strongly disagree. Strongly. Because the one thing that they have said this whole time, every time we've listened, is you have to build internally, and they have all the depth, and they currently don't have enough spots. So I think maybe, I think, and we've talked about the trade market doesn't exist. And
well, good. I can own all those shares and I can cash in.
So that's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to sell you all mine now because I think we're very likely looking at, Valera, Lada, Kwan is your starting outfield with, maybe Kafis waiting in the wings and then sooner than later, with Elaine Thomas on a return, because there's literally no one in free agency. There's no outfielder worth adding in free agency. There isn't. It's just full stop. Unless you're going to get a Grisham or a Bellinger, and I don't think they can compete with those teams.
Let's say if
because you said a major move, that's why I'm selling.
I said
significant. I just don't see significance out there.
There's a player you and I have talked about. I think you might have mentioned. I'm not going to say the name now, just so we can hold it. But I think you've mentioned him a little bit. There's an outfielder who may or may not be on the free agent market, depending on what his team wants to do with him. Do you consider that significant or no?
Do you mean no? A platoon bat is not significant, especially when it's the weak half of the platoon. That's only 20% of at bats. So, and I brought him up on my solo show, so people know about the Rob Ref Schneider talk. I don't think that's significant. I think that's good. Like, significant's got to be at least 50% of the at bats of the position.
All right, I'm still gonna buy that. I'm still gonna buy it. We'll see what happens. If we're doing the minor league thing, my other buy here is this. I don't know where all the shares are. I think you were still higher on him than I was, maybe in the preseason. But give me as many shares as I can get of Daniel Espino impacting this pitching staff in 2026. I don't know if it's going to be as a starter. I think it's probably going to be as a reliever, but I'm not going to put a term or definition or a role on it. But give me all the stock I can find in Daniel Espino making some sort of impact on this pitching staff in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be in the first half. I think it's in the second half, but like, and let's be honest, we think this is a potential playoff team. He's just got to be up by September, right? Like he's got to be up, get his feet wet and be ready to go. So I'm with you. And so are our listeners. That was a common one in our listener.
That was an easy one. Yeah, that was an easy one. All right. What was your
my buys? I did kind of a week one, and I almost did a double here because I was like, so many people are so negative on Travis Bazzana that I put him as a buy because there is this weird disconnect. I do want to point out last year, if you look at WRC plus, which again takes and all the offensive production a player has, and makes a baseline of 100. He was amongst guys who played in the upper level of the minors for this team, AA and AAA. He had the fourth best WRC plus, actually a point above Ralphie Velasquez because Ralphie had the rough start. So it's like sometimes it doesn't, we focus on where a guy finishes and not on what they do. And I think a lot of people were jumping off the Bazzana or like already calling him a bust. So I want to buy all that stock from all those people who are giving up because I think it's just silly. I also threw Cooper Ingle in there just because I think he's, when we get to the hold, I'll talk about some other catchers, but I think he has a chance to help this team this year.
Ooh, I do have some catcher.
And then I just had general buying on the prep guys, buying on Oki and Dowdy. If you can buy some extra stock, now's the time to get in before they get to the upper minors.
Yeah, as long as Dowdy's shoulder is okay,
yeah.
I think. I mean, the Guardians did say that they felt like it was a very minor concern. They were shutting him down out of precaution, but heard that before. Yeah. So I'm not going to, I don't know, until Braylon Dowdy is standing right in front of me at Media Day in Lake County in 2026 in April or March, I'm going to be a little bit leery, or at least if we hear he's pitching in the backfield somewhere in Goodyear come February or March. Oki, yeah, that'll be an interesting one as well. I do have some catcher-related holds. So my first hold, though, is going to be I am holding on the fact that the starting pitching staff for the Guardians is going to be the best part of the team in 2026. I said last week on the show that not a lot of people listen to, unfortunately, that starting pitching is the thing this organization needs to lean into even more than they already do. And I'm talking about usage at the major league level and depending on them, making them the focal point of this team. Every year, I said this on the show, every year, every team has a new identity. Every team has a new strength. Every team has new weaknesses. Things can fluctuate a little bit. But I really believe in the starting pitching staff. I really believe the guys on it. I believe in what they've done. I believe they have smart people coaching them. Maybe they have too many coaches, but that's a conversation for another day. But I buy all the depth they have in it as well. So I buy that this is going to be the strength of their team next year, no matter what they do this offseason. I don't think there's any move out there. This is maybe contradictory to my buying the outfield move in the offseason. But no matter what they do, I don't think their hitting is all of a sudden going to become better than their starting pitching. And they've also shown that they're willing to let defense slide a little bit. So they need that good starting pitching.
I think that's one of those things we'll do a show on. I actually think that they've just found a way to be markedly efficient with defense, but we'll discuss that another day.
Yeah, that's fair. There are other things.
We come back. I'll bring up my 4 holds. They're all pretty quick, so I don't think there'll be too much talk. You can just react, but they'll be quick ones.
Yeah, fair enough. Into sellers. Yeah, what stocks we're holding on, whose stocks we're holding on to, and I've also got a prospect selling point to bring up here on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. The NFL season and the NBA season, it is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. If you're a new customer, if you haven't got in on the game yet, bet $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. I know we've said multiple times this offer is the best FanDuel offer we've seen, and we don't know how long it's going to be around. I can tell you the days are drawing to a close of how much longer this offer is going to be around. So if you want to pick it on the Browns, go ahead. That's a bit of a risk if you want to do that. If they lose, you bet against them. You can have a little bit of responsible fun and not be so miserable. But the Cavs, they're a lot more fun. You could do a lot of fun things on the FanDuel app with the Cavs as their season gets underway. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today to get started. And guys, let's get real with each other for a second here. Making excuses in anything, we know that doesn't solve anything. And a lot of us have heard this before. It's stress. We've made the same excuses. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to peak performance, sometimes your body does need that little extra support. And that is where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers you fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED that are designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Makes it easy to get started as well. It's all backed by 100% board-certified doctors online. It makes it really easy because there's no awkward waiting rooms, there's no in-person appointments, and it's going to be shipped discreetly to your house and to your door without anybody knowing as well. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know that we sent you. Rougiette. Stop making excuses. Start making moves. All right, back here on today's Locked On Guardians, of course. Hey, got some interesting news coming ahead at some point here for our insiders, people who are not insiders yet. There might be some additions, some interesting news coming on the insider program. So join subtext.com/LockedOnGuardians is how you get involved with the insiders group. We're texting every day. We're talking about off-season moves, talking about the World Series. We do monthly Google chat, Google video meets together, all that kind of fun stuff, plus any other bonus content out there, access into Google Drive. So jump in on that while you can, and we'll tell you in the future what kind of things are coming your way for the insiders. All right, Jeff, stocks you're holding on.
Okay, I'll start with, I guess, I'll go least spicy to maybe more spicy. So I'll start at the minors. I'm holding on Churio. A year ago, he was like a top 3 prospect to you and I. Injury-plagued years are hard, right? Like, it was not a great year, but I'm not going to sell off. I'm holding. I'm also holding on Josh Hartle. He always had the stuff to pitch really well in the lower minors. I want to see more at the upper minors before I'm willing to buy him as a future rotation piece, before I'm willing to say, like, hey, they can still win the Jimenez trade because of Josh Hartle. I just need to see kind of that upper level performance. I'm holding in Cantillo. I don't know if I fully buy the performance over those last few weeks. The potential has always been there. So I'm just kind of holding. I'm leery. And then I think my most controversial hold is I'm holding on Bo Naylor. And the reason I'm holding on Bo Naylor is, of course, I closed my tab. So why would I want to keep it open? He just had his second best year. I know people are going to be like, he didn't even hit 200. And that's fine. He didn't hit 200. You're right. But he had an 85 WRC plus. You may not believe it. That's relatively close to an average catcher. That is, if you get a 90 at the catching position, that's actually pretty solid. That's something a lot of teams. I mean, JT Realmuto is the top catcher in free agency. Is one of the 20 guys I mentioned yesterday who had a WAR over 2 who are free agents. Bo Naylor was at 1.5. He's very close to that number. He's just 25 because he debuted so young. So Bo Naylor could be, coming into something. And on top of all of that, he cut down on his K rate. He increased his walk rate. And his BABIP was the worst of his career. He's about a 260 guy. He was 220 last year. His previous 2 years, 267, 262. So you're saying a 40-point jump. If he's all of a sudden goes from a 195 to a 235 batter, and he can get that 40 point, so he's a 320 on base percentage. If you got 320 on base with a 379, that's essentially 700 OPS. That's probably a top 10 catcher. And that's just through the addition of getting back to where he was BABIP wise. It was not a great year. I was looking to trade him every single week, it felt like, or find a catcher, maybe more. And I'm still not 100% sold. Like Cooper Ingle, I'm buying because I still don't know. But the more I kind of got under the hood, the more I was like, there's reason for hope here. There is legitimate reason for hope. And it's not just that last month, but he did a lot of adjustments this year as a hitter.
I'm holding on Bo Naylor as well. Actually, go back for a second. JT Realmuto, what were the numbers on him again? What were you saying was the difference between him and Bo Naylor?
I think so. JT Realmuto, I want to say, let me pull up the exact WRC plus.
It was
2. I think he was like a 92 or a 95 this past year, or maybe he was. Oh, he was a 94, and he had 2.1 WAR, so he was over 2. So he had a 94, which in a 2.1 WAR. You had a 1.5 and a 85, so about 10% worse as a hitter than Realmuto, and defensively defensively about the same, honestly.
So you're telling me that's going to get JT Realmuto only a 2-year, $10 million deal?
No, because he's one of the top 20 free agents in baseball, and there's no other catcher in free agency.
Only $10 million is what I'm hearing.
JT Realmuto is going to get $15 million a year at least.
Nope,
because that's how. So time out. I do a little bit of high school or middle school economics, and there's this thing called supply and demand. And the catching position, there's never a supply, and there's always demand. So here's the thing: you can't just say you take this and take it, because I don't understand how supply and demand works. There's no supply. There's literally no supply. Like, who else are you going to go for after him? Keibert Ruiz? Is that like number 2?
I'm going to give Cal Raleigh 2 years, $20 million. That sounds fair.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Realmuto is nearing the end, but there's a lot of teams that would kill for a 94 WRC plus, Cleveland being one of them. I'm hoping that Naylor gets to a 94 this year, basically, is what I'm saying.
I am holding on Naylor as well, but for different reasons. Nothing to do with statistical. I'm holding on for two reasons, or at least two-parter here. Holding on to Bo Naylor because of David Fry, because I'm holding on to David Fry as still being an answer in this lineup in 2026 as a left-handed masher, and because he can return to playing catcher. You just talked about with Jason Churio holding on him because of an injury-plagued year. Now, I know David Fry wasn't technically injured this year until the Terry Skubal incident, but he was coming off of a surgery in an offseason where he wasn't able to do a whole lot, and I don't know what his surgery will affect him to do this offseason. Hopefully it won't be as long and he'll be okay. But I think being able to not have Bo Naylor catch as much, not facing as many lefties, and being able to leverage David Fry back there a little bit more, I think can help Bo Naylor. So I'm holding on Bo Naylor because of David Fry's return, who I'm also holding on to mash lefties this year in 2026, I should say.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Fry. I just gotta be honest. Like, I haven't seen enough.
The minor league data. I know we talk all the time about how minor league data doesn't always necessarily.
He had one good month. He didn't even. He was league average. He was close to league. He was about league average against lefties in his good year. When you get rid of the 1 month.
I'm not expecting him to be an all-star again. He probably should have been an all-star again. But I still think he can hit lefties and be an answer in this lineup.
He was right around average, which if he's catching is fine. Right around average is more than fine. But if he's
the fact that he can play a little bit of right field and maybe some first base,
close to average. I mean, it's better than what they had a year ago. It's definitely usable.
If you got a guy who can have 100 WRC plus against lefties and play 3 positions for you, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah,
especially in this roster. All right, you want to do some quick sells because I got a hot one for you. You ready?
Yeah, I'll do mine. I don't think mine are that hot. Khalil Watson, just because we've talked about Franco Alamon, because again, I've been the low man on him for a while.
You're selling low on that one.
Well, these are the guys I just don't see any valuations on. Like, I don't have much hope. And then Angel Martinez, and this is just because I want to sell my stock because there's so many people who keep talking about how he's going to be the next Jose or this or that or see a starter. And I just think, how many comments were there this year about how he's the most exciting player they've had since Jose? Remember those comments early in the year? And even a year ago, there's a lot of people who really buy, and he's a fun player, but he just has so many flaws. He's right up there with the bad swing decision guys. So I think he's a useful utility guy. But if I have to pick between him and Schneemann, even though you need the lefty, I'd much rather take Schneemann, who struggled against lefties just because he brings you more overall. And then my controversial sell is Slade Cecconi, because the more I dig into data, the more all of it's bad. And but we know everyone likes him. We know that teams, Cleveland wanted to get him, Tampa wanted to get him. There's a good overall core. There's 5 years of team control. He's a big guy. He's always going to have value until he has the crater season. Eventually he's going to have a terrible season, but he's going to have value right now because he's got all those tools and traits teams look for, and they have the pitching depth. So that's my semi controversial one.
I will buy up your Slade Cecconi stock because I think he was essentially a rookie last year because it was his first year with the new team, new pitching coaches, and a lot of stuff that he was experimenting with, trying to. And he was coming off an injury in spring training too. So I buy that there's still more clay to mold there. So I will take your shares of Slade Cecconi. My hottest. This is actually not my spikes. This one I got 2 sells. My first sell is a reunion on Lane Thomas. I don't think this team should bank on Lane Thomas as the platoon outfielder because you already have injury concerns with Valera and DeLauder. So to me, bringing back Lane Thomas on an injury rebound year, I know financially it makes sense. A lot of people are going to say it. I know you're going to say it, but I would rather not bring in somebody coming off of all those injury issues.
I disagree, just because they don't have a good option. Like, to me, like, they don't have a great one. He's 30 years old.
Sometimes the best moves you make sometimes the best moves are the ones you don't make.
But you're going to get him on the cheap. So guess what? If he's bad, you cut him, you move on. Like, it's not like it's going to be one that it's all upside. Like, I'm going to take the guy who's a cheap sign with all upside because you need, he's.
But is that going to impede them from making because this is the same thing we talked about?
They're not going to make other moves because I disagree with you because they're going to, this whole organization's last 3 years is based on not blocking youth. They're not going to block the youth. So if you go get Lane Thomas in a kind of glorified platoon role to start, and then it's like, let's say it's like this year where Rokia was terrible, and then they've got, someone else to rotate to at the start. Like, they're going to give guys opportunities, but if it goes badly for 2 months, they're going to move on, and having those depth options to rotate through, I think, is valuable. So I think Lane Thomas reunion makes too much sense. I think that's their outfield addition, honestly.
So you're saying they're going to take the same approach this offseason instead of pooling their money into one.
There's no one to pull it into. There's no 30-plus-year-old guy to pull it and give
right,
$20 million
exactly.
To.
So instead of spending $7 million on Seawald, $7 million on Junis, and $4 million on Hedges, and $10 million on Bieber, they don't have as many options to choose from. So they take their money and they pool it into 2 people. They get Ryan Helsley or Jake Junis, and then they get someone better than Lane Thomas because they don't have as many.
There isn't anyone better than Lane Thomas in the outfield. That's the problem.
All right. We'll see. Here's my other hot take to finish today's show off.
Yeah.
The future for Travis Bazzana is not at second base. I've been sitting on this for a while, and I want to do a deeper show.
That feels like that's the chatter for a while, though, right?
Yes, but I think we said that initially, and then they traded Andres Jimenez, and we were like, well, Travis Bazzana is going to play second base. And I think he will debut at second base, but I think by the end of his career with the Guardians, whenever that happens, he will have played more games in the outfield than second base. I feel like the second base defense is too important, and I feel like that's going to be an outfield answer for them rather than the infield. Yep, we'll have more on that in a future show. Not tomorrow, but in a future show. On tomorrow's show, however, we will talk about this. Did the Guardians ignore their own data in the postseason the last 2 years? We'll talk about that. We'll answer that question, and we'll do Trade Talk Thursday. We'll be trying to acquire some outfielders via trade, so I can tell Jeff that guess what? I was right. I bought on that big splashy acquisition.
I want to thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. All that fun stuff. I cannot find the right ending ad here. Why don't you comment below since it's spooky season? What's your favorite spooky movie? Under the radar one. Don't go with obvious. Thank you all, and go Guardians go.